Good morning, students of class 12. According to our current syllabus of protest movement chapter, as we all have studied very nicely, and the students who are also not attending the live class, please be alert with your reduced syllabus. So I am going to start today discuss with you protest movement chapter, as it is left out in your book, only protest movement and Middle East chapter. From there, according to the reduced syllabus, I am teaching you, and you all also have to follow it. Now, racial problems and civil rights in USA is in your part, and it is in your book also the topic. So let us start. After the Second World War, the United States of America emerged as a great power in world politics. In spite of the general affluence, there were a number of problems in American society. They were facing a lot of problems. What was that? In spite of the general affluence, there was very big problems which Americans were facing. One of the very big important problem was the racial problem, the blacks and the whites difference. The slavery was abolished in America in 1863 only, but the black people residing in America for a long time expected that they would be entitled to enjoy the same rights as the whites enjoy, like the right to own the land, to receive a good education, and to vote. In the southern states, slavery existed for over 200 years. The white people residing in southern states always took the black people as slaves and inferiors. Naturally, these people felt it difficult to treat them as equals. Very soon, the black people felt that they were discriminated against in all respects. Namely, they were prevented from voting. They were forced to attend separate schools of poorer quality of education than that of enjoyed by the whites. They were segregated in places like restaurants and on the buses and trains. They had to do the most unpleasant and ill-paid jobs. Not only that, most of the trade unions, which mean to protect the interests of the workers, refused to allow black people to join as members. The first organized attempt to campaign for black people's right began in 1910 with the formation of National Association for Advancement for Colored People, but this organization failed to make any headway, and black people were still treated as second citizens and during the Second World War time. Now comes the change attitude of government. Government also was not supportive. 1946, President Truman appointed a committee to investigate civil rights. The committee recommended that the Congress should pass laws to stop racial discrimination in jobs and to allow the blacks the right to vote. The committee itself gave several reasons for its recommendations. Some politicians felt that it was not morally right to treat the blacks in this way. It was waste of talent to exclude blacks from top jobs. The blacks gradually became outspoken in demands. They were not having their own rights to speak anywhere. America could not claim that the country is really a democratic country, as 10% of the population was denied the voting right. Nationalism had gradually developed in Asia and Africa. The non-white people of India and Indonesia were on the verge of getting independence. These new states might turn against America and move towards communism if American whites continued this unfair treatment towards the black people. As a result, within the next few years, the government and the Supreme Court declared new laws to introduce racial equality in the country. Separate schools for blacks and whites were declared illegal. Some black people had to include on all juries. Now, school should be desegregated. It means black children had to attend white school and vice versa. So in 1957, Civil Rights Act thus set up commission to investigate the denial of voting rights to the black people. That why this type of law was made. why the black people were not allowed for the voting procedures. Now, 1960s Civil Rights Act had provision for the blacks to register as voters, but it was not really very effective. Moreover, the blacks were afraid of registering themselves as voters for fear of being harassed by the whites. But unfortunately, the laws were not always carried out. Some of the southern states refused to implement the school's discredited order. Ultimately, President Eisenhower sent federal troops to escort the black children into high schools at Little Rock, Arkansas, where the governor had defied the order of Supreme Court. It was defied by the first person now. This was a symbolic victory, but southern whites continued to defy the law. As it was a very big victory for the Afrikaners, the black people who were residing there, but always they used to get betrayal, hatred, and unacceptance by the white people residing there. So, defy the law. By 1961, only 25% of the schools and colleges in the south were desegregated. Okay. Next, we'll study about the campaign for equal rights. Okay. This campaign for equal rights, Martin Luther's role is there, but in your this thing role of Nelson Mandela in reduced syllabus this year they are not giving you to study. And then there is feminist movement part. Okay, today we will do this part. On this only I will do today a brief short questions. Okay, then we'll move on to the long questions also. Campaign for equal rights. So in mid 1950s, a mass civil rights movement developed in America for a number of reasons. A huge number of black people lived in northern industrial cities. They became aware of the political issues in meantime. A black middle class had emerged in America. They produced a number of talented leaders, and Asia, Africa, states like India and Ghana became independent. Inspired by these developments, the black Americans protested against the unfair treatment of the white people. And the Truman Committee had raised the hopes of black people, but they became impatient at the slow pace and small amount of change in society. So at this point of time, the advances they made created strong hostility among the southern whites. Some southern state governments even banned NAACP. It was now felt that a national mass movement should be started to change the situation. And the changing of the situation was very well required at this time. It was a high time now for the situation to be changed. So at this point of time, who came to proceed the movement? It was Martin Luther King. Through his movements and protests and demonstrations, he became the father of the people for helping in the problems facing during racial discrimination. For those people, he became the God, a Messiah. So Dr. Martin Luther King was a Baptist minister, and this was a national campaign which started in 1955. The emergence of Dr. Martin Luther King. It is a very important part, and you will also have to read this. Okay, till this much we will do. Next class we will continue with Martin Luther King's part, and then feminist movement part. Not more than this it is there. Apartheid part, only the racial discrimination part little bit we will discuss, but Nelson Mandela's role it is not mentioned in reduced syllabus to be studied. Okay, so let us do till this much today, and brief questions we will discuss today on this lesson. It will be given in your worksheet section, brief questions in PDF form. Today not writing form, in questions in worksheet. I will give today in PDF form, so you can practice those few questions. As few part is there, just beginning part of the lesson. Thank you.